That's what to do. What was so funny?
No, hey, don't worry about
What
it.
did you went back on that?
It's too late now.
I totally
You
missed
missed
it. I got the clown over here. So, hi, this is Dane Dormio. I'm welcome to the Tai Chi web show. I'm here today with Andrew Brown and a very special guest who happens to be the newest member of the Tai Chi and Martial Energetics Instructor Certification Apprenticeship Program, and also happens to be my mom. So, uh,
It's
go ahead.
reverse tradition.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like tradition bending, I guess. So go ahead uh, and take us where we're going, Andrew.
So, welcome. So today we're going to interview Arlene and find out what she is, what she does, and how she got this far. So, Arlene, hello. How are you?
Hello. Hi, Andrew. I
Hey,
am great.
You're great. Okay, good. That's awesome. So, I heard recently you retired. How was what's been happening in your life since you retired?
Well, it's only been a couple weeks. I have been focusing on my Tai Chi Qigong practice and learning new things like how to breathe, how to walk, how to balance. It's like being an infant and learning all over again how to use my body, even though I've been using my body my whole life and I thought pretty efficiently. I'm still noticing that there are parts I haven't been aware of and parts I need to learn to use better. So,
Yep, very true. One of my favorite things about Tai Chi was that it taught me how to be the ultimate perfect, not just perfect. How much more perfect could I possibly be?
did you say the ultimate perfect?
Yeah, the ultimate perfect.
What does that mean exactly? What is the ultimate perfect?
Well, so we're always perfect because everything's perfect. The universe is already perfect and it's united and it's one thing.
Yeah.
And how do you get to be better? Well, you become the ultimate perfect. You become the ultimate self, the ultimate realized personal self. And it just keeps you going forever in self-improvement. So it's pretty
like
cool about Tai Chi.
Endpoint.
You never stop trying and improving. So I've been really happy with that skill set.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great distinction. Actually, is there's two different kinds of perfection. There's the perfection of how everything is exactly as it is, the way it is now in the present moment, and in 5D space time, everything, there is no past or future. Everything just is, and it all is perfect. And there's also the perfect of that which everything is continually evolving towards, the continual advancement of multiple dimensions of existence, that's open and ongoing. So they're two different things, and they both exist.
Yep. So how's that hit you, Arlene? Have you heard that concept yet?
And actually, I wanted to add that there is perfection in the best that you can do without it being perfection by any particular standards. The closest you can come to center, the closest you can come to balance is perfection, even though it may not be perfectly in balance, it's still perfection.
It's like organic perfection.
Yeah, think about perfection as a pin that's standing on a surface, and it's perfectly balanced in every single direction, and it's not going to move ever. But as soon as you give it any force in any direction, it topples. That's what perfection is, because you can find that perfect ultimate moment where everything is exactly right, as like an Olympic diver. You're doing this insane spin, all these twirls, and you finally hit the water, and that moment has to be perfect or the whole thing looks like crap. There's that moment of perfection, and then there's, well, everything's perfect.
I really, actually, Mom, you said something this morning about sort of, it was related to the perfection that was really insightful. Do you remember what that was?
I think it was along the lines of that it might not be perfect, but it's as good as I can do.
I think it was along.
I don't remember exactly what it was.
I think it was along the lines of, it's better to be to be close or imperfect and comfortable than to be perfect and uncomfortable.
Well, except that as close to perfect and comfortable as you can be is better than in terms of form, in terms of the standards of Tai Chi movements. It's better to be as close as you can be and comfortable than to be doing it as far as it could be possibly done by someone. Does that make sense?
Then to be forcing it to be quote unquote perfect, and forcing yourself to be uncomfortable.
But it's kind of hard for me to accept to do things less than. When I do them, I want to do them perfectly all the time from the beginning. It's hard to be a learner. It's hard to accept that you can't do what the experts can do, what people who've been doing it for years can do, and not be hard on yourself. So I kind of have to accept that being as close as I can and be uncomfortable, then I'm doing it the right way.
As some friends of ours would say, how perfectly human.
To err is human.
Yes,
how perfectly
it's hard
human
not to be perfect.
How perfectly human to feel that way. I think that's something that we can all relate to, the sense of wanting to be perfect, and a lot of Tai Chi, Qigong, energy arts, internal practices, being comfortable and sort of changing your perception of perfection to a more organic, evolutionary, soft kind of a feeling, and because it's trying to impose perfection with the mind, it really creates friction and tension and resistance.
That's why you have to sink and relax into it. You just relax into perfection. You don't get tenser to get to perfection. It's only getting more and more comfortable. Like when you swing a golf club over and over and over, the very first time versus the 10,000th time are very different.
Breathe.
Yeah, and you've learned to breathe, and you've learned to let your shoulders sit, and you learn to let your hips sit, and learn to let your whole body swing through. You know, it takes a long time to learn it, but once you learn it, it's kind of forever.
Yeah, the relaxation part is hard, and to go from a 40-hour work week to just be paying attention to myself and my body is, so you kind of know how that is, huh? All of a sudden I'm noticing things that I never noticed before because I was so busy holding myself together to make it through 40 hours of work or more, 40, 50, 60, I wasn't really aware of some of the things that were going on in my body. So it's been really interesting to be paying attention to my body and playing with it. And I have an excellent coach. So
Yes.
Yes, I have a good coach.
He has lots of experience teaching people without using language. And that's really important, because every great teacher I've ever had was kind of like English as a second language learner, because they would just sit there and make you do it and make you feel it instead of trying to explain it to you over and over and over, because you're never going to get it. You have to just feel it.
Some of the visuals, though, some of the talking helps. Some of the visuals help.
Yeah.
But yes, he is a good teacher, and I've spent a lot of my time teaching, so I see that he uses some techniques that are familiar to me.
Good. So
I really like that you mentioned being like being an infant and relearning how to move and breathe and walk and all that, because that really resonates with my first experience of internal awakening, just being a baby. And it also, I think there's a passage in the Tao Te Ching to that effect, to be soft and supple as a newborn babe.
Constantly.
And particularly in the perspective of where you are starting, because a lot of people are aware of or have been aware of Tai Chi or Qigong, or aware that they like to do more to take better care of themselves and to take care of their body, and they just keep putting it off and putting it off. And there, as considering where you are and where you're starting from, now that you are in a position, I mean, it's not what I would. Let me put it this way: I wouldn't recommend that one takes the path of just work and put off all self-care until retirement. But if that's the situation you find yourself in, hey, it's better late than never. And I think you're really illustrating and exemplifying this the capacity for radical change and transformation, and at an age and a stage in life where so many people are well entrenched in crystallizing and solidifying and entrenching their egos. You are actually taking the opportunity to start over and start on this journey. And you may have 30 years from now, you may be a recognized Tai Chi master, with 30 years of experience. That's the great thing about these practices.
It's true. Very true.
That's true. That's a goal I can work. I have paid attention to my body throughout my career, because you have to, and the work that I did teaching people to help elderly and disabled people, you have to be aware of the very most basic ways that our body works. But I've always looked at it from more of a Western perspective, even though I've been aware of the Eastern perspective. I haven't really studied that perspective. I mean, I've done a lot of independent reading on complementary and alternative medicine and traditional Chinese medicine and Qigong back to the 70s. And we've had Tai Chi at the Area Agency on Aging, so I've done some Tai Chi. But I haven't had the opportunity to put as much focus on it day after day, all day long, to really be thinking about it. So it's been that's been really fun.
You really only need maybe a few hours a week to really start getting the benefits of Tai Chi. I feel 1 hour per week is bare minimum, but 3 hours per week is actually a good start for most people. So when I began, I was doing 16 to 20 hours per week, but I'm a crazy person and I just fell in love with it. So it's a different, I had the opportunity and it just all lined up like, oh, I have unlimited classes. I'll just hang out here.
Well, you know, if I guess I kind of have unlimited classes.
Yeah.
And I have some routines that I do of my own, some body work routines.
Good.
So,
Well, that's good that you've always been doing that kind of stuff, because I had a lot of coworkers who definitely needed that kind of daily routine, some kind of weekly exercise or fitness capability routine. Because if you get to the point where your body is getting in the way of your motion, of getting in the way of your range of motion, if I can't get my arm across to my shoulder because my chest is so large, that's an indication of some problems. That's gonna get you.
Yeah, if you can't reach out, you're having to stick your foot out, tie your shoe because your belly's in the way.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to lose some weight.
It's so tough.
And
so
I
tough.
I wonder how people. I always wondered that. How do you allow yourself to get to where you can't function and not want to do something about that?
It's two things. It's two things. I have a very specific answer for that.
Okay, let me hear it.
It's two things. It's the boiled frog effect, number one.
Mm-hmm. Progressive comfort.
Yeah, and it is the and it is a social graph phenomenon, meaning if the people that you identify with are a certain way, then that becomes a part of your self-image. So for somebody who has a certain self-image, if they started to gain weight, they would see that as a problem. And for somebody who has a different self-image, if they started to gain weight, they would see that as just what happens, or just normal or acceptable for them. So so both of those things contribute to that phenomenon, and that's analogous for so many forms of deferred self-care that people expose themselves to, like chronic sleep deprivation or chronic malnutrition or malnourishment, or like deficiency of you may get plenty of certain things, but there's really lacking certain other things that are really important in their diet, and the boiled frog phenomenon in particular creeps up on all of us. It just creeps up on you, and if you're not diligent, then it'll just keep creeping and keep creeping.
And so many of my clients, many of my elderly clients, when you say, "How are you?" they would say, "I'm fine." Of course, they would get out of breath walking from their chair to the bathroom, or have to use a walker, or be in a wheelchair, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I'm fine. I can do anything I want to do." But that boiled frog effect, as we lose the ability to do things, we start setting ourselves up with our day arranged so that we only have things to do that we're able to do, so that we still, in our minds, we still think, well, I'm fine, I can do anything I want to do. And yet, looking from the outside, a person can say, well, yeah, but you can't go shopping.
Yeah.
But I don't really need to do that. My daughter does that. So that boiled frog effect happens to all of us as we age. That's a natural tendency to.
That brings up a really awesome scenario in my mind just by flipping it. You know, you're saying you arrange your day around your limitations. But what if you arrange your day around giving yourself growth stimulating challenges? And like for example, what comes to mind for me, like something I've always done this sort of thing for myself. Like for example, when I go upstairs, I run or hop and jump upstairs. Like wherever stairs are, and
Frog jump.
I go up and usually at least two at a time, and you know if I'm feeling feisty, three or four. But it's just, you know, there's stairs in the house I grew up in, and just from, I don't remember how young I was when I started doing it, but when I go up the stairs, I always, that's just how I go upstairs, and
I have a
that's
question.
something. So I don't know how long that's going to continue, but just building that into my natural habits of movement. You know, as far as, you know, if I'm 80 or 90 or 100 or 120, as far as I know, I'm still going to be doing that. You know, just by having that built in as a default.
It's a good idea. So I have a question as someone who grew up in a house with stairs as well. How many times did you fall down the stairs? Did you slip and go,
Well, that
never
depends.
once?
That depends. You mean on purpose or by accident?
See, I never did that on purpose. I thought that would be a little weird.
Does it count if you like put mattresses going down the stairs and a big one at the bottom and slide down them? I mean,
Wow. No, my stairs were never that big. No, just more like, oh, I'm running down the stairs and slip. Oh, crap. And slide, maybe fall over. Go down face first. Happened to me three times. My whole life, 3 times. It's not that
bad. I'm still curious to circle back around to something that you mentioned, Mom, about your career in health and healing, specifically while we're on the topic of Tai Chi, caring for elderly people. Speaking of Tai Chi, I'm curious to hear what kind of lessons you have taken from your career, and in terms of health and healing, and how that's informing your practice of Tai Chi, and how it just generally informs your perspective on old age and what it represents or what it means.
Well, I have two kind of competing family historical lines about medicine. I have on my mother's side, there's a long tradition of complementary and alternative medicine interest, naturopathy, and chiropractors, and just alternative, complementary and alternative therapy. And on my father's side, I have a strong interest in allopathic medicine, Western medicine, and science. And so when I chose a career, I went into nursing, which was more in the lines of science. But nursing in medicine, nursing and some other associated medical practices recognize that the world is more than just the science. And so nurses in particular tend to have a different view of health than physicians do. And it often is based more on taking care of your basic needs, eat right, get your sleep, exercise, take care of your problems, those kind of things. Physical therapy is another branch of medicine that very much has that focus. So nursing has a very wide range of interests, but a lot of it tends towards those basic needs things, or at least my career has tended towards those basic needs. Meditation and using what's in the world to keep us healthy, because the medicine that we have available, the medical care that we have available to us in this country is awesome. The kinds of things that doctors and modern medicine can do to heal people, to fix problems is amazing. And yet, even when medical practice is performed to best practices, there are always times when the care results in less, it ends up with less than perfect results. So our goal should be, this is what I tell my students, it's awesome that we have this available to us, but our goal should be to never have to use it. That's our goal.
Yeah, preventative
Never
medicine.
have to use it.
Yeah, you want
If
to
you
teach.
need it, it's awesome, but wouldn't it be wonderful if you never had to use it, and then you would never have to take any of the risks involved? And there are no risks involved in learning to breathe right, learning to use your body right, learning to work with your mind so that you think about the world in an expansive way. All of those things have been well studied and are known to improve our health and longevity. So why, I see no reason not to focus on those things. Just like, why would you not do Tai Chi or Qigong if it feels good? Why would you not just step back, take care of the basics so that you don't end up having to take antibiotics, which are awesome, and also
Don't want them.
It's a lot like
destroy your normal gut flora. So, and it's only now that we're seeing women who take antibiotics, more than 20 rounds of antibiotics in their lifetime, are more likely to have breast cancer.
Oh, wow.
We are only now seeing the long-term effects of what modern medicine has been doing. And yes, in the moment, it can save your life, but why not avoid having to use it?
Practice healthy practices, and you don't need to be unhealthy.
I gotta point this out, so I know Andrew will appreciate the parallel. It's a lot like self-defense, right? It wouldn't be great to never have to use it.
That's the whole point.
That's the whole point. Yeah. And actually, there's several things there that you touched on, Mom, that I have to draw these out because I know there's some juicy history and wisdom.
Juicy.
In here. One having to do with you mentioned your students, what you teach your students, and so in you're referring to in your nursing career, which really has been teaching and supervising home health aides, or people who take care of elderly people in their homes, right? That's
yeah, most recently, yes.
Right, yeah. And what was that whole, like, the outline of that whole career arc as far as your experience and as a nurse and a supervisor and teacher of nurses?
I'm not sure what you're asking there.
Well, like you said, most recently, your focus was home health care for elderly people, but like, what else has what other areas of your career span?
Well, I started working in hospitals when I was 14 because I knew I wanted to be a nurse. And so my dad got me a job in the hospital where he worked. And I didn't get paid. But I've worked, yeah, cleaned up a lot of vomit. That's what I did. But it was fun. It was interesting. I learned stuff.
We have different ideas of fun, Arlene.
Yeah. It was all good. So I've done emergency room work. I've done operating room work. I've done just medical surgical floor work. I've been an ICU nurse. But my real passion has always been about how to stay healthy and not need all that awesomeness, because it is awesome and it's amazing the things that we can do. But I've always so when I came to work for the Area Agency on Aging, I was able to really focus more on those things that keep us healthy. Our agency doesn't do any skilled care in terms of medical skilled care. We do medically necessary care, but it's the very most basic kind of nursing care. And in that area, there's just so much to learn about about the basics of health and how important those basics are. If we didn't do what we do, I tell the aides, if you weren't there doing what you're doing, helping people to take their baths and to get something to eat and to move around their apartments and to get to the bathroom, make sure they can get to the bathroom. If we weren't doing those things, all the medicine in the world would not help those people.
Yeah, you're totally right.
And so I'm kind of, that kind of makes me appreciate those basics that I'm learning with Tai Chi and Qigong, the breathing and the balance. If you don't have those basics taken care of, all the rest isn't going to matter.
Now, Arlene, you did a lot of work with the elderly. And how old were you while you were doing this work?
Well, I started when I was 30.
Okay.
Or in my 30s. I'm, somewhere around there, around 30. Maybe close to 40. Somewhere in there. And another thing that I would always tell my students is that we don't want to be like our clients and need help in our 60s and 70s. Look around you. Look at the people who are still going strong in their 70s, 80s, 90s, still holding jobs, still doing their grocery shopping, still gardening. Gardening's hard work. When you're gardening at 101, to me, that's a big deal. We want to look around and see those people who are still contributing at 80, 90, 100, and be like them. Find what they're doing and do that. When you work on a daily basis with people who can't take care of their basic needs in their 60s and 70s, you start to think, man, it's awful to get old. But it doesn't need to be. So look for other references. Look for when they have senior games and watch those 70-year-olds pole vaulting.
My dad just competed in senior Olympics. So he does it every year.
Yeah.
He's a medalist. He wins almost every single year.
Did I compete in what?
My father competes at the senior Olympics in like tennis and handball.
Yeah, I know. Your dad's a great example of like just staying physically active continuously.
Yep.
And
surfs every day.
There was something I wanted to touch on related to something that you said, Mom, because about noticing the difference. There was an experience I had where this just was, was really strikingly this message really strikingly sent home to me. Um, when on a particular day, this was quite a few years ago. Um, uh, it was a particular day that I was in San Diego, and at the time I was um, uh, teaching some volunteer classes with several senior living facilities in the city, and um, and a lot of these people, they're for many of them, their biggest challenge was just being able to stand up. They could only stand up part of the time or with assistance, holding on to something. So many of them were, I mean, they were able to sit down at any time, and they also had the other biggest problem they had in general was just focus and paying attention. um, and so that, I mean, that was, the kind of the overall tradition of this demographic. And um, in this one particular day, a group that I worked with, there was one man in particular that I noticed, and he told me because he was suffering. He was kind of he could stand up okay, but he was suffering from more severe dementia symptoms, I think, and he was telling me how he's 60 years old, and a bunch of other stuff in this kind of rambling stream of consciousness, but I noticed him, the condition he was in, and then that evening, um, I was at uh, uh, a tantra community gathering event of some kind, a potluck or something. So it was in San Diego. And there's a different demographic of people there, and there was one man there in particular who was being a little bit celebrated because it happened to be his 60th birthday, and this guy was just like a robust physical specimen, like a Greek statue, and I noticed just like both of those encounters happening the same day, 60 years old, and noticing, what a difference 60 years can make, depending on what you do with it, and of course, many factors. But it's a big difference what it can make, and I love that you mentioned also that celebrating, like for people who are 101 years old and gardening, celebrating that, because um, something that I think makes my mom a superhero, uh, above and beyond just about anything. It's like, oh yeah, you can jump over buildings, you're faster than a speeding train. Cool, yeah. My mom survived breast cancer.
Congratulations.
When I went to my breast cancer support group, the ladies there said, many of them said, I had breast cancer. I was blessed. And I was like, what do you mean, blessed? I don't feel blessed. I'm not happy about this. But many of them had that attitude of, this was a blessing. This was something that changed my life and showed me how valuable life was. And if I lost a breast, that was a small price to pay for the life that I have today. I was not in the frame of mind to hear how blessed I was to have breast cancer. However, let me tell you, if you get to choose, if you're a woman, choose breast. If you're a man, choose prostate, because both of those have great survival rates. They're easy to detect. They're usually found early. Even surgery and chemo, as awful as those things are, with both of those cancers, we have great results. The 5, 10, 20-year survival rates are awesome. There are definitely things you can do to improve your survival rates, like exercise. Women who walk have better 5-year survival rates. So I certainly did my walking to help that survival rate. And when we talk about illness, not all of it is under our control.
Of course.
There are a lot of things that happen to us as individuals and to other people that we can't really take responsibility and say, if I hadn't done this or if I'd have done that. We all do the best we can at the time that we know to do it. So maybe I shouldn't have been taking antibiotics every time I got a sinus infection.
Yeah, definitely.
But that knowledge wasn't available to me, and I was operating under the best knowledge I had available. And there are some things that no matter how well we take care of ourselves, that things can happen and make us become disabled. And I think it's wrong for us to things like lung cancer, for us to say, well, I'm so sorry you have lung cancer, but you shouldn't have smoked. Blame people for what's wrong with them, I don't think is the answer. I think the answer is to help them maintain their health the best that they can, and look for ways to enhance and improve their health and functioning at whatever stage they are. And the Qigong approach, the Tai Chi approach, meshes well with that. So that whatever stage you are, you can start here and you can work up to being more functional, more steady, safer on your feet. And one of my clients was in his 80s, and every time I'd go to see him and ask how he was, he'd say, well, I'm just here by being careful. And I think that a lot of living longer, when you get older, you realize that a lot of things that you might have survived when you were younger, you might not survive so well when you're old. So maybe you need to make sure those things don't happen, like that you don't fall. And Tai Chi has been shown to really help with balance and fall.
Oh yeah.
Which is a huge factor for longevity. Statistically speaking, if you over age 60, if you fall and suffer a fracture, it's a very high indicator of a 2-year mortality. And as my Sifu said, you'll probably go your whole life without ever getting into a fight, but you probably will fall down. So
that's one of the best reasons to study martial arts, is to protect yourself against the world.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
killing you. It's gonna try and kill you every chance it gets. You better be ready. Learn Tai Chi.
It's like that thing.
Alert! Be alert.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's in the Tao Te Ching too, isn't it? Come to think of it, Tai Chi is like the saying, "Keep your friends close and your enemies closer." So that's how we treat gravity.
And one of the best things about Tai Chi is when you get the person close, you have much more control, much more power generation. And we practice it trying to get the person to come in real tight so I can, explode into them and, snap them in half.
It's sort of like in Tai Chi, gravity is your frenemy.
Is your what
No,
friendly?
Friendly, yeah.
Yeah, you need to use it, but it always can pull you down too. So you got to be careful.
Mhm.
You're the tornado above the water. You don't want to fall into the water. Then you disappear. Hurricane above the water.
Cyclone, something.
Yeah.
Typhoon?
Anyways, all right. So I had a quick point about you mentioned statistics. 97% of disease is related to blood flow and poor blood flow, especially.
I
So
heard
when
that's
you
interesting.
Yeah, if you're not getting blood into your shoulder area, and you just have these pockets where you have really poor blood flow, those are the areas that are going to start to die and decay, because without that, you don't have anything. And Tai Chi is one of those traditional exercises that stimulates blood flow at a much better rate than other exercises. So.
And besides that, it
This is
looks
a great
so
practice.
pretty and graceful and smooth.
Yes,
To see
moving very
people
smooth
doing
is beautiful.
Tai Chi.
Yes. One of the great things about retirement is actually people take up dancing again. They'll go to dance classes, and that's their exercise, and they start to move again. And that's one of the things that lets them like, oh my God, I need to start exercising so I can dance longer. And then they start feeling that need to go back to the gym and the silver sneakers and all that stuff. So Tai Chi and dance do similar functions for the elderly.
Yeah, I just love that, whatever age. I love what I love about what my mother is exemplifying is that at any age you can have a beginner's mind and a childlike, playful approach to continuous learning and growth, and um, and and particularly through meeting the body's need for movement in whatever form, whatever form that is. The body needs to move; it loves to move, and it's never too late. Because so many people in Western society, let's say, are live in their heads. They're stuck in their head all the time. They if you told them they were stuck in their head, they wouldn't even know what you're talking about because they wouldn't even know there's such a thing as being in their body. Um, and it's never too late to develop an intimate relationship with your own body.
And when I found that when I call attention to certain things, my students will come back and say, tell me about results that they've had that were not intended results, but were awesome. For instance, Westerners tend to stand with their knees locked. So I would always teach my students to unlock their knees, and I would show them, we would push on each other to show how much more stable they were when all they did was unlock their knees. And some of my students who had problems with their knees would come back and say, my knees used to hurt all the time. And now that I've just started noticing my knees and unlocking my knees, I would say anytime you're in line, when you're waiting to shake the preacher's hand after lunch, when you're in line at Walmart, that's our culture here. Church and Walmart. So in those times, just take a minute, notice how you're standing. Are your knees locked? And if they are, unlock them. And they would come back and say, my knees used to hurt all the time, and now they don't hurt anymore. So just simple things can really make a big difference in your life. If your knees aren't hurting, then that's not drawing your attention, and your mind is free to go on to other things that are happening in the moment, and be more in the moment because your body isn't calling attention to itself.
If you want to be in the moment, all you have to do is meditate all the time. It's just pay attention to your breath, and every single time you find yourself in that line, just drop into the basic practice of weight shifting. So lowering your weight, feeling your springiness in your knees, and then just shifting left to right and having 100-0, 50-50, 100-0 on both knees, and feeling that, but also being low and never locking your knees. Every time I hear about someone locking their knees, it's like they passed out at a military graduation because their knees were locked for 30 minutes and they're just like, out. And that's the kind of stuff that happens when you lock your knees all the time.
So
good
Andrew,
pointing that out. Yeah.
I also practice things like that from time to time when I'm waiting in a line. Do people ever kind of look? Well, you're in a different place.
Oh yeah. People stare at you, and you just have to realize I don't care about that person looking at me. They're not gonna hurt me. And do I know them? Are they a friend? No, it's like anonymous. Should I be embarrassed for doing this thing that's good for me? Well, when they have no idea what's going on, it's not my place to explain it to them.
Actually.
Yeah, breastfeeding. I love breastfeeding.
Yeah, I was breastfeeding Dane.
That's how I was breastfed. It was great. I got this far.
Breastfeeding Dane one time. Let me tell you this story. I was breastfeeding Dane, and this couple walked up, and the man looked at. Dane was sucking away. All right, and this man walked up. I was at a booth, and this man walked up, and he said, "Oh, look at the baby. Look, he's sleeping." His wife kind of was going like this. So she knew what was going on, but you don't have to be obvious.
Sexual harassment was so just out in the open in the old days. Now it's much more subtle.
No, they honestly did not realize that the child was nursing there right in front of him.
It was stealth breastfeeding, which corresponds to what I call stealth qigong, and that actually is exactly what you're talking about when you're standing in the line or waiting for the bus or whatever, and you're working in a natural stance, so that nobody can tell. Generally speaking, nobody can even tell you're practicing qigong unless they're really sensitive and observant. And somebody who's really sensitive and observant might walk up to you and go, "Oh, you're practicing Tai Chi, aren't you?"
No, I've never had that ever. I wish.
But you can practice stealth Tai Chi also. But my approach to that aspect of the environment, where if it's like any challenge, if it's too much of a challenge, it breaks your state. It's no good. But if it's enough of a challenge that you can stay in state and work with the self-consciousness as material for your meditation, then it's a great edge to work in with your qigong practice. Is like how okay can you be, and just work the edge where you maintain composure, you stay in state regardless of how other people might be reacting or looking at you, as long as you're not violating anyone's boundaries or doing anything that's actually inappropriate. It's an edge that can be worked, and it's a fun one too. There's all kinds of social experiments you can come up with.
Hopefully we're all coming up with, because we're human, we're always making those observations, and you hear about all sorts of studies that others have done on various aspects of human behavior. So people watching and trying to validate those experiments that you've heard about is also a fun stealth activity. Your stealth of observing.
Being very aware of everybody. Yeah, that's a good one too.
Stealth experimenting. Yes.
I just came up with a great idea for
see how many people cross their legs when you cross their legs.
That one's good.
Yeah, and that's working with mirror neurons too. There's all kinds of cool experiments, like public social experiments you can do, or public experiment you can do with mirror neurons. But I just had an awesome idea, Andrew, for next World Tai Chi Day next year. We can do a Chi mob, which is like a flash mob, but it's like people moving very slowly, so anybody can join in. You're like somewhere in public, somewhere in downtown street or something. Yeah, would that be awesome?
That would be
I'm
awesome.
gonna see if that might work out. We'll see if I can get that to go somewhere.
Yeah, we can totally.
It sounds kind of fun to see if I can organize that.
We can totally make viral videos on YouTube.
Yeah, just go to a courtyard at a mall, and it's like, why are there 40 people just
moving
like
really
standing perfectly still?
In fact,
in some weird pose.
moving slowly and maybe moving slowly down a street or a sidewalk, something the case may be. But I bet
walking really slowly, that would be awesome.
I bet
it's a parade that takes 4 hours.
I bet if we get ahead of it, we can even start a movement before World Tai Chi Day and get it happening in a bunch of different cities.
Maybe.
Start a new trend right here.
I'll just start walking down the street real slow and see how long it takes before someone notices me and hashtags properly.
Social experiment.
Hashtag Chi Walker.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, so now that you're retired, what are you going to do with yourself, Arlene? Are you just going to play Tai Chi all day? Or are you going to get another job, start a new career? What are you going to do?
I am open, ready, and willing for the universe to present me with opportunities. And I will take care of what I should be taking care of, so that when those opportunities present themselves, I will be aware and ready to take advantage of them.
Something
that's great.
I do have plans for a trip, a major trip, to Europe with my sister. So I have some planning to do with that.
Good.
Her birthplace. And I'm very excited about that because I've wanted to go there for, 60 years.
Well,
So
good. Finally going. Finally
make
make time for it.
There. I haven't made the arrangements, and I do have some work to do to make it happen. But I don't have any particular next career in mind, although I'm sure there is a next career, at least one, maybe two. I've got enough time to work in. I just haven't quite decided where I want to go with that. I have so many interests. It just hasn't occurred to me.
Good. Well, now you have time to finally pursue all of your
I haven't
interests.
figured out how to mesh them all yet, but at some point they'll all gel, and I will have the solution to save the world. We'll see.
It's something that we've been talking about quite a bit is the acceleration of exponential technology, and particularly as it relates to human longevity and radical life extension technologies that are coming online. And the vision, there's a company called HLI, Human Longevity, which is one of Peter Diamandis' mentors, and their mission statement is to make 100 the new 60.
Good for them.
Good mix. Yeah.
So it's. I mean, we're on the verge.
I wish them luck. I wish them all the luck. I want them to do that.
We're on the verge of so many huge and profound shifts, societally, technologically, socially, politically, financially. Everything is changing faster and faster, and
we got cyborgs now, man. We got them. They're real.
Yeah, we do. And,
but they are us.
Yeah.
and
Cyborg parts are us.
The great thing is, like, this is such an exciting time for anyone right now, regardless of your age or stage of life, to be entering in a new childhood, to be imagine that your everything that happened before today is like your superhero creation story, your origin story, and right now today you are starting over as the superhero of your own life, of the story of your life, and um, approach uh, approach whatever your whatever it is you're passionate about with a beginner's mind and a child's eyes, because we're living in a time where so many things that were not possible are becoming possible, and um, and there's you can make excuses, or you can look at the world through new eyes each day.
Yep. Yep.
and
Okay.
in relation to what's my next career, if I could choose a career, it would be a career where all I did was learn. The last few years, I've had the opportunity to do a lot of learning, and if I could make a good living at it, I'd still be in college, because I just love learning. I can't get enough. I just want to know about everything. So that may be what I'll do, is just learn all I can about everything I can. And at some point, I'll want to put that knowledge to work. But there's so much fun stuff to know about.
Well, Dane was a physics
Even more.
If you need any assistance, he can help you with that.
Yeah. He already told me he'll help me with my higher math. I've always been a little intimidated by math, but I don't think it's not the math. It's the arithmetic. The 4 by 6 and 10 by 2 and 1 by 1 plus 4.
Well, hey, all you really have to learn is matrix.
Algebra, calculus, I can do that. Just give me the calculator to make sure the numbers come out right.
Yeah, just learn some matrix math and you can turn everything, even differential equations, into matrices, and everything works out really easily. It just takes some crunching. So, go ahead. That's all you need to know. Just get started. All right.
Not sure how I'm going to put it to use to save the world, but I'm sure with all the knowledge I gain and all the new things I learn, I'll be able to help someone. And I've been a teacher, so I'm sure there will be more teaching opportunities in the future. And in the meantime, I can be a student and I can learn.
Good.
Both are fun.
Teaching whenever possible.
And all of this is very, very relevant to the path of the martial energetics apprentice instructor program, of this being a vehicle for pursuing continuous learning through contribution to others and development of self. So I love that you're exemplifying those values, which are fundamental to the system and our whole approach to.
And those are values that are really important to me. Is continuous learning, learning, and sharing what you learn for the benefit of other people.
Good. Those are great morals to have. Good job, Arlene. You made it this far, doing pretty well.
I'm a youngster.
You're not so much of a cynic yet.
So many awesome role models of mostly women who went on to even greater things after they retired from their working life, and also some men. But there's always more to do. There's always more to learn. Every day is a lesson, and everything is a lesson. And so there's another tie-in with Tai Chi Qigong. May not be the same every day because the surface may be different, or the incline may be higher, or there may be different walls to work with. But if we just work with what's in our environment, we can make the most of our strength just with what's handy and available.
All right, we have one last lesson before we go. So this is something that in martial energetics we don't really practice very much. It's practicing forms. You know, when you learn these forms, you practice them many, 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 many times to the point where you get to the meditative states. But every single time you do the form, it's a different form, and it's new, and it's never been done like this before. So realize that every single moment is always new, and it's always better than the last. So every single time.
They're different than the last, but because we can't always get better. There are going to be some.
No, they will always be improving because you could never have done it this way until you did it this way.
That's right. There will always be a lesson. There will always be the opportunity.
You'll always learn something from doing it again.
Following the principle of yin within yang and yang within yin. To go down, you must go up. To go up, you must go down. There's hard within soft, and there's soft within hard. Movement within stillness. There's stillness within movement, and likewise. You must. Funny, but
it's okay.
Likewise, there's newness in the old, and there's oldness in the new. The same way. Recognizing if you're doing a very old form to you, recognizing in the East or a movement, even if it's a form or a pattern, a single movement, recognizing the newness in each repetition, and also if you're doing something new, recognizing the oldness, the universal principles in the new. So.
Yep. So, you were trying to do a quote there. I want to show you guys one of my quotes, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah, what is it?
Be water. Be formless. Be shapeless. Oh, crap. Just said be water after that. Dane, you got me all screwed up too. This is all your fault. I blame you. All right, we should end this right now. This is perfect time.
End it with it being right this time.
Be formless. Be shapeless. Be water. Put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. Put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. Put water into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Yeah.
Be water.
Yeah.
But
that's an old Bruce Lee quote from an interview.
Yeah.
But yeah, the essence of being water is something really akin to Tai Chi. It's very profound lesson in Tai Chi.
Yeah, well, he was also drawing upon the Tao Te Ching in his.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he was drawing upon traditional Kung Fu philosophy, and that is definitely one of them. I mean, studying the 5 elements, you're trying to emulate each element, and the water one is one of the toughest ones to master, but it's also one of the most powerful.
Hey Andrew.
Water harder than air.
Wait, Andrew.
Yeah.
What does Bruce Lee drink?
I don't know. Why don't you tell me? Good, good. That was going to be a tall glass of aneurysm. That's dark. All right.
And so for Martial Energetics, we
Yeah, sign us out.
we all want to share that that doing this work benefits the world, and that the more people we can get like water, the more the world will flow and peace will reign.
Good one.
Amen.
Good one. Nice.
Right?
Well, the more people that know self-defense, the more peace there will be. Because once you learn self-defense properly, you see no need to ever attack another person. So, peace reigns.
Peace.
Okay.
I hope.
Yeah. All right. See you later, guys. Thanks for the
Bye.
All right, signing out. Good talking with both of you. Thanks for being here, Mom. Thanks for being here, Andrew. Great chatting, and I look forward to further dialogue.
All right.
All right. Hasta la vista.
Excelsior.
Excelsior.
Excelsior.